Good morning, guys. Hi again. Yeah, so here we go. More videos. Love them. So, as I said earlier, I've broken today's session into 4 parts. We're doing everything that we would be doing in class, so don't worry. And I've kind of, just to remind you, I've done it this way because you'll all be working at different paces, and I want you to kind of get it all done and done well, because the kind of 4th part of this is going to accumulate into what you've done in the rest of the session. So you need to have done this well to be able to do the last part. Okay, so the first thing I want you to do is to take a really dinky Kahoot on the stuff we did the week before Christmas, which I know you won't remember very much for, but it is a kind of real simple basic one, just to kind of vaguely kind of go over a few things. Okay, the link will be on our team page. Dead simple, only like 11 questions, but I want to see you all done so I can see what people have remembered and kind of make a note of it when we come to revise and stuff. So pause the video and do the Kahoot, please. Okay, so we're now on this 3rd topic. This is really, it's a really interesting one. It's actually weird. Most of the time we find out bad things, but today we find out about good things, which is nice. So we're going to look at kind of the collection and processing of forensic evidence. So we're kind of we're going to focus on fingerprint analysis, okay, and we're going to look at kind of potential issues with it, and then look at a piece of research that says actually this issue isn't an issue. So that's lovely, and then we'll look at strategies for making sure there isn't an issue. Okay. So normally we'd be getting dirty, we'd be doing our own fingerprints. We can't do that at home, which is a bit of a pain. But just to kind of remind you, there's so much evidence collected at a crime scene. Okay, I'm sure lots of you watch loads of amazing crime showy kind of TV shows, and especially those of you who do criminology, you'll know thousands of bits of kind of evidence. But remember, there's footprints, DNA, fingerprints, bloods, how they entered the building, you know, what did they take, what have they used. There's so much evidence, and it's really important that we collect evidence in a really systematic way so no issues can be had with the evidence, because if it is, you can't use it against the person. So everything is, there's a kind of set procedures, and we're kind of, what we're going to look at is kind of making sure that the analysts are kind of going to do their job kind of well. Okay, so that's kind of, it's a really important kind of part of the process. And to kind of highlight this is the kind of the amount of wrongful convictions, and most of the data here is in America because it just is. That's where most of the research is. So just so you know, there was no such thing as DNA. We didn't discover it until like late 20th century, and it wasn't until 1989 where the first person got kind of exonerated, so let off a crime that had been found guilty for because of DNA. And obviously with the issue of being American, kind of the executions obviously been in the news. I think there's one happening tonight, isn't there, in America? You know, people on death row might be innocent, okay, and there's loads of research about kind of who has been wrongfully convicted, and look at the kind of the data here. The average is 14 years in prison for a crime you didn't commit, okay. Look at the age of the people. They're 26 when they're getting found guilty of these crimes. So they're not coming out until they're 40. Like, that's a massive chunk of your life gone because of a wrongful conviction. Okay. But why are these happening? Okay. We're going to come on to eyewitness testimonies next week. So we know people misidentify suspects. Okay. They're not lying. They just saw the wrong person or who they thought it was. But what we're interested in is 45% of these wrongful convictions in America are based on bad science. Okay, so that's the bit we're going to focus on. Okay, and you can see 1 in 4 people are falsely confessing, which is crazy. Okay, So there's kind of a real socially sensitive issue here about kind of wrongful convictions and getting the right person. So if you're interested in this, which I know some of you are, I know some of you are doing your EPQ on this kind of stuff, look at the Innocent Project website. You can find out everything about this. And also there's a couple of films based on real life cases. Mercy, which is pretty new, really good, amazing, I cried. And something called Conviction with Hilary Swank, which is another really good kind of gritty movie about kind of wrongful convictions. Okay, so there's a big wider issue here, and this is why we have to be careful that forensic science does their right kind of job. So that's kind of like the background to what this topic is all about. Okay, but I want you to have a look at fingerprints for a minute. So I have attached a document. Okay, so what I want you to do is try and identify the pairs of fingerprints. Okay, so what one's number one? Does it go with A? Does it go with B? Does it go with C? So I want you to spend a bit of time seeing if you can match the fingerprints. I've only ever had one person who's got them all. Okay, so pause the video and have a go at that now for me. It'll only take you 5 minutes. Okay, so here are the answers. Okay, so see which ones you got correct. I think most people normally get about 4, so we'll see how, and that's like 33%. Okay, so yeah, so we'd be having a right giggle at the moment, seeing who was right and taking our own fingerprints and looking at them, but there's no ink at home, I'm certain. Okay, so theory time. So the first part is what motivates forensic scientists, and the other part is looking at biases. They kind of overlap, but they are kind of separate things. So the first kind of idea really is that we know forensic scientists want to be right, okay, but there are kind of different reasons for this. The first one is that they have an emotional motivation to kind of do well, okay, and because of this, because they want to, like, this is crime, isn't it? You want to catch the baddie, and so this sometimes can kind of lead scientists, and especially fingerprint, to make kind of bad conclusions. So that's what erroneous means, wrong conclusions, because it's not scientific. On TV you kind of see it just goes into a computer and goes 99% match. It's not done like that. There's a picture of the fingerprint that's been taken from the crime scene. There's a picture of the suspect's fingerprints, and they try and match them. They find the similarities. So what you've just done. Okay, so it is a subjective thing. It's not objective at all, and we'll see that in the research later on in today's session. Okay, so they're motivated because they want to catch the baddie. Okay, they also get motivated by the types of crime, and basically the more emotional, the more severe the crime is, the more fingerprint experts want to find a match. Okay, makes sense. You have a missing child, a dead person, a sexual assault. We're going to want to catch that scumbag, so we want to get it right, and that obviously can lead to errors sometimes. Sometimes the more you want something, it makes you not do as well. Okay, I'm sure sometimes you've tried super hard at something and choked in sport, for example, or a performance. It sometimes happens. Okay, and lastly, the kind of motivation, they want to get it done. Okay, this is a decision-making process. So let's find the fingerprint. Is it right? Yes, it is. Brilliant. It's kind of done and dusted there. Okay, so there's kind of three things that motivate fingerprint analysts, but they can make biases. Okay, they are biased. They can make errors because of this. The first one is because they might already know something, so it's called observer expectancy bias. So this is when you already have the information from an initial observer. So if you're double checking it, you already know what they've said, so you're just gonna kind of go, oh, well, I'm expecting that to happen, and guess what, it has happened. I agree with them, for example. Okay, so you kind of come in with this kind of idea of preconceived ideas. Secondly, we've got selective attention, so you're filtering out all the other things that could possibly sway your judgment if that fingerprint matches or not. Okay, and you only focus on the stuff that is yours. We've then got the conformity effect, which is when, if you're asked to compare, so especially when, if you imagine if you had to like do your bosses and check that they got it right, you're going to just agree with them, because it's an unconscious bias. We all do. Okay, I know, for example, when as a teacher we have to like double mark other teachers' work to make sure they're marking accurately. Oh yes, yes, I agree. So those of you who kind of do kind of a subject like anything that has kind of coursework has to be double marked, and we like to agree. It's nice. Okay, I don't want to challenge other teachers and say, look, you mark badly, or likewise to me. So we kind of go along with it. So that's another potential bias. Also, because it's a crime, we want to solve that crime, so that links, and then being overconfident. You're an expert. If this is your job, you're an expert. You go, yeah, I'm always right. Yeah, trust me. And as I said, this is a subjective subjective kind of thing here. So you may not always be right. Okay. So there's a kind of lots of potential issues here. I just want to quickly do some evaluation of all of this, because it kind of fits here best. The idea here is to get more accurate fingerprint experts. So it's a very useful topic. Okay, we'll look at the applications of how we kind of get rid of bias in the next part of the next video. So it's a very useful thing. It can contribute to our understanding of individual situation explanation. So all experts are individual, they're different, so we all work differently. So in theory, if we know that person, we can know, like for example, I know if there's a serious case, I'd get really nervous. So I probably wouldn't want to know what the case is. I just want to do the fingerprint and ignore all the surrounding issues with it. So it'd be good to know what could potentially be a bias for each person, but also let's try and reduce this risk of a decision-making process. And that's kind of what the application strategies are, but we'll look at kind of next. Okay. However, it's so important we get this right. Okay, for false convictions, we just can't have them. Okay, obviously as science becomes better, there's less of them. Okay, but with fingerprints, like I keep saying, this is a subjective opinion. Okay, the fingerprint matches. Yeah, like sometimes it's blooming obvious, but sometimes it's not. You might only have a partial bit of someone's fingerprint. You got to try and match it with one of their fingers. It's hard. Okay, so it's really socially sensitive if we get this wrong. And also, as I said, there's a lot of difference here. So this isn't a science. The research is scientific, but this skill, the fingerprint analysis, isn't scientific. Okay, this is a step-by-step process that means it's standardized, but we have science, we have kind of some kind of real objective issues here. Okay, so that's some quick evaluation of the theory, not massive here. We're more looking at kind of the research. So what I want you to do is, can you quickly make some brief revision notes on this content? Shouldn't take more than 20 minutes. Use this and the book. Okay, once you've done that, please go on to video part 2. Fab.